The rain fell hard on the small village of Umona. It hit the red earth like angry tears from heaven. Blessing sat on the cold floor of her family's mud house. Her small hands shook as she held her mother's wrapper close to her face. The cloth still smelled like palm oil and love. "Mama," she whispered into the empty room. "Papa." But no one answered. They never would again. The truck had come fast around the bend. Too fast. Her parents were walking home from the market. They carried yams and plantains for dinner. In one moment, everything was normal. In the next, Blessing became an orphan. She was only 12 years old. "What will happen to the child?" they whispered. "Her father's sister lives in Lagos," another woman said. "She married a rich man. They have no children." A woman stepped out. She wore a beautiful blue dress and gold jewelry. Her skin was smooth and her hair was styled perfectly. But her eyes were kind. This was Auntie Sandra, Papa's younger sister. Blessing had met her only twice before, at family gatherings. But now, this woman was her only family left in the world. "I am here now," she whispered. "You will come home with me. You will never be alone again." Blessing cried into her aunt's shoulder. She cried for her parents. She cried for her old life. She cried because she was scared of what would come next. Blessing pressed her face to the car window. Everything was so big, so loud, so different from her quiet village. "This is your home now," Auntie Sandra said as they drove through tall gates. The house was bigger than the village church. It had white walls and a red roof. Flowers grew everywhere in the compound. A man in uniform opened the gate for them. "Daniel," Auntie Sandra called. A tall man walked down the stairs. He was handsome and wore expensive clothes. His watch caught the light and sparkled. This was Uncle Daniel, her aunt's husband. He shook her hand gently. His palm was soft, not rough like the village men who walked with their hands. "Yes," Uncle Daniel agreed. "We will give her everything. Education, clothes, a good life." Years passed like seasons. Blessing grew taller and stronger. Auntie Sandra kept her promise. She gave blessing to everything a mother gives her child. Every morning, Blessing woke up to the smell of plantains and eggs. The house girl, Blessing, would prepare breakfast while Auntie Sandra braided Blessing's hair. Blessing went to the best private school in Lagos. She wore crisp uniforms and carried beautiful books. The other children came from rich families too. At first, Blessing felt different. She remembered her village life. The way her mother cooked on 3 stones. The way her father told stories under the big tree. Uncle Daniel was proud of her too. He would check her homework at night. On weekends, the family would go to church together. The church was big and beautiful. The pastor wore fine robes and spoke about God's love. After church, they would eat pepper soup and watch television together. Blessing began to forget the deep pain of losing her parents. Not completely, that kind of pain never leaves. But it became softer, like an old scar that no longer hurts every day. "Never forget them," Auntie Sandra would say. "But do not let grief stop you from living." Blessing loved her aunt more than words could say. Auntie Sandra was the mother she had lost. She was patient when Blessing struggled with mathematics. She was gentle when Blessing cried about missing her parents. She was strong when Blessing needed someone to lean on. At night, Blessing would pray. She thanked God for bringing her to this home. She thanked Him for Auntie Sandra's love. She asked Him to bless her new family. She had no idea that storms were coming. When Blessing turned 16, something changed. Her body was no longer that of a child. She had grown tall and graceful. Her skin was smooth like polished wood. Her eyes sparkled with intelligence and joy. Too beautiful, the old man replied, shaking his head. Beauty can be dangerous in this world. Blessing did not think much about her looks. She was busy with school and books. She wanted to study medicine and become a doctor. Auntie Sandra supported her dreams completely. But Uncle Daniel began to notice Blessing differently. At first, it was small things. He would stare at her longer than before. When she walked past him, his eyes would follow her. When she spoke, he would smile in a way that made Blessing feel uncomfortable. Uncle is being strange, she told herself. Maybe I am imagining things. What are you reading? He asked. Biology, Blessing replied, not looking up from her book. You are so smart, he said. His voice sounded different. Softer. And so beautiful. Blessing looked up, surprised. Uncle Daniel was staring at her with eyes she had never seen before. They made her stomach feel strange. Thank you, Uncle, she said quickly. She gathered her books. I should go to bed now. Blessing, he said quietly. You are not a little girl anymore. She pulled her hand away and ran to her room. Her heart was beating fast. She locked the door and sat on her bed, confused and frightened. What was that? She whispered to herself. That night, she could not sleep. She felt like something had changed in the house. Something that could not be changed back. Blessing tried to avoid him. She would stay in her room when Auntie Sandra was not home. She would make excuses not to sit with him during family time. Blessing seems distant lately, he mentioned to Auntie Sandra one day. Maybe she is stressed about her exams. Blessing wanted to tell her aunt everything. But how could she? How could she say that Uncle Daniel was looking at her like she was not his niece? How could she break her aunt's heart with such terrible words? I am fine, Auntie, she lied. Just tired from studying. Auntie Sandra rubbed Blessing's back gently. You know you can tell me anything, right? I love you like my own daughter. I love you too, Auntie, she whispered. But she kept her secret locked inside her heart. One Saturday afternoon, Auntie Sandra went to visit her sick mother in another part of Lagos. She would be gone all day. Take care of Blessing, she told her husband before leaving. Make sure she eats lunch. Uncle Daniel nodded and kissed his wife goodbye. Blessing watched her aunt's car disappear through the gate. Suddenly, the big house felt very small and dangerous. Around noon, Uncle Daniel knocked on her door. Blessing, he called. Come and eat. I made lunch for us. Blessing did not want to leave her room. But she was hungry, and she did not want to seem rude. In the kitchen, Uncle Daniel had prepared rice and stew. He served her a plate and sat across from her at the small table. This is nice, he said. Just the two of us. Blessing ate quickly, keeping her eyes on her food. Blessing, Uncle Daniel said after a while. Look at me. You have grown into such a beautiful woman, he said in a low voice. Sometimes I forget you are my niece. Uncle, please. Blessing started to say. But he stood up and moved around the table. He sat in the chair next to her. I have been watching you, he whispered. The way you move. The way you smile. You are driving me crazy. Blessing's heart pounded like drums. She tried to stand up, but he caught her wrist. Uncle, this is wrong, she said, her voice shaking. Auntie Sandra loves us both. Please don't do this. Sandra does not need to know, he said. This can be our secret. Blessing ran to her room and locked the door. She sat on the floor and cried until no more tears would come. Her whole body shook with shame and confusion. She felt dirty. She felt broken. She felt like her life had ended. For hours, she sat there in the dark. When Auntie Sandra came home that evening, Blessing pretended to be asleep. She was fine, he replied calmly. She studied all day. Such a good girl. Blessing beat her pillow to stop herself from screaming. Her aunt noticed the change immediately. Blessing, what is wrong? She asked with worry. You look so pale and sad. Nothing, Auntie, Blessing lied again. Just tired. But Auntie Sandra was not fooled. She took Blessing to the doctor. The doctor found nothing wrong physically. Blessing wanted to scream. Yes, she had a burden. But it was too heavy and too terrible to share with anyone. Uncle Daniel was not finished with her. He found more opportunities to be alone with Blessing. Each time, he became bolder. Each time, Blessing felt more trapped. If you tell anyone, he warned her, one day, it will destroy this family. Your aunt will blame you. She will hate you. Where will you go then? Back to your village with nothing. The worst part was watching Auntie Sandra's innocent love. Her aunt would hug her and say sweet things. She would talk about Blessing's future with such hope and pride. I am so blessed to have you as my daughter, Auntie Sandra would say. Each word was like a knife in Blessing's heart. Weeks passed. Then months. Blessing became like a ghost in the house. She smiled when she had to, but the light had gone out of her eyes. She bought a pregnancy test from a pharmacy near her school. Her hands shook as she waited for the result. Blessing was pregnant with Uncle Daniel's child. She thought about running away. She thought about ending her own life. She thought about disappearing so that no one would ever have to know the truth. But where could a 17-year-old girl go? She had no money of her own. No family except Auntie Sandra. No skills to survive on the streets of Lagos. For a week, she kept a secret. But her body began to change. She felt sick in the mornings. The smell of certain foods made her want to vomit. Auntie Sandra noticed everything. Blessing, are you sure you are well? She asked one morning. You have been sick for days now. Maybe it is malaria, Blessing said weakly. We should go to the hospital, Auntie Sandra decided. I will take you today. The doctor examined Blessing carefully. He asked her many questions. Then he asked for a blood test. An hour later, the doctor called Auntie Sandra into his office alone. Blessing sat in the waiting room, her hands cold with fear. Auntie Sandra came out of the office walking like an old woman. Her face was grey. Her eyes were empty. They drove home in silence. Blessing wanted to say something, but what words could fix this? At home, Auntie Sandra sat on the sofa and stared at the wall. Uncle Daniel was watching television, but he looked up when they entered. How did it go? He asked cheerfully. Is our Blessing feeling better? Auntie Sandra looked at her husband. Then she looked at Blessing. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was like broken glass. Pregnant. Uncle Daniel repeated, as if he could not believe it. But how? Who? His acting was perfect. He sounded shocked and angry, like a father who had just discovered his daughter's shame. Auntie Sandra turned to Blessing with eyes full of pain and betrayal. Who is the father? She asked in a whisper. Blessing, who did this to you? Blessing opened her mouth, but no words came out. How could she destroy her aunt's marriage? How could she tell this woman who had loved her like a mother that her own husband was the one who had betrayed them both? Tell me, Auntie Sandra said, her voice rising. Who is responsible for this? Blessing looked at Uncle Daniel. He was staring at her with warning in his eyes. His message was clear: if you tell the truth, I will deny it. I will say you seduced me. Who would they believe, a desperate orphan girl or a respected man? Something broke inside Blessing's heart at that moment. Something that would never heal. I cannot say, she whispered. Cannot say. Auntie Sandra stood up, her whole body shaking. You are 17 years old, You live in my house. You eat my food. I send you to the best school. And this is how you repay me. Auntie, please. Blessing begged. Please what? Her aunt shouted. You have brought shame to this family. You have destroyed your future. And you cannot even tell me who did this to you. Calm down, my dear, he said gently. Shouting will not solve anything. But Auntie Sandra pushed him away. Don't tell me to calm down, she cried. This girl has broken my heart. I loved her like my own daughter, and this is what she does. Blessing fell to her knees. That night, Blessing heard her aunt crying through the walls. The sound was like dying animals, full of pain and loss. And in that moment, something terrible happened to Blessing's heart. Instead of feeling sorry for the pain she had caused, she began to feel angry. Anger is a dangerous thing. It can make people do things they never thought they would do. It can turn victims into villains. It can poison love and create monsters. Blessing did not know it yet, but her anger was about to destroy everything good that remained in her life. The days after the terrible discovery were like living in hell. Auntie Sandra barely spoke to Blessing. When she did, her words were cold and sharp. Eat your food and go to your room, she would say at dinner. Each word was like a slap. Blessing felt the love draining out of her aunt's eyes day by day. Uncle Daniel played his role perfectly. He acted disappointed but kind. We must support Blessing through this difficult time, he told his wife. She made a mistake, but she is still family. His false kindness made Blessing feel sick. But it also made her realize something terrible. If everyone was going to blame her anyway, why should she protect him? One evening, Blessing made a decision that would change everything. She knocked on Uncle Daniel's study door. He was working on his computer, probably counting his money or planning his next business deal. Come in, he called. Blessing entered and closed the door behind her. Uncle, she said quietly, we need to talk. He looked up from his computer. When he saw her face, his expression became wary. What about? He asked. Uncle Daniel stood up quickly and moved to the window, as if he was afraid someone might hear them. I want you to tell Auntie Sandra the truth, Blessing said. I want you to admit what you did. Are you crazy? He whispered. Do you think anyone will believe you? You are a village girl living in my house, eating my food. If you accuse me, I will throw you out on the street tonight. Then I will tell everyone, Blessing threatened. Your friends. Your business partners. The people at church. Tell them what? Uncle Daniel moved closer to her, his face dark with anger. That you seduced your uncle? That you tempted a good man until he fell? Who will believe your word against mine? His words hit Blessing like bullets. She realized he was right. In this world, rich men were always believed over poor girls. Especially poor girls who were already pregnant and disgraced. But then Uncle Daniel made a mistake. He underestimated how much pain and anger had built up inside Blessing's heart. Besides, he continued with a cruel smile, you enjoyed it. Don't pretend you didn't. You wanted it as much as I did. That lie broke something inside Blessing. All the shame and fear she had been carrying turned into pure rage. You are evil, she whispered. You are a monster. Uncle Daniel frowned. Something in her voice worried him. What do you mean? He asked. I mean, she said slowly, that if I am going to be destroyed anyway, I might as well take you with me. And in that moment, Blessing chose a path that would lead to more pain than she could ever imagine. She chose revenge over healing. She chose hatred over hope. She chose to become the very thing that had hurt her. Uncle Daniel was surprised by this change in Blessing. The frightened girl had become a calculating young woman. It excited him and scared him at the same time. I am suggesting that we stop pretending, Blessing replied. Auntie Sandra already hates me. She suspects you but cannot prove it. So let us give her something real to hate. You want us to be together? Openly. Uncle Daniel could not believe what he was hearing. Why not? Blessing's voice was bitter. My reputation is already destroyed. My future is already ruined. At least this way, I will have something. I will have you and your money. Uncle Daniel thought about this. His marriage to Sandra had become cold and angry since Blessing's pregnancy was discovered. His wife watched him with suspicious eyes. She questioned his every move. Maybe Blessing was right. Maybe it was time to stop pretending. Blessing's heart should have hurt when she thought about her aunt. This woman had saved her from poverty. I loved her. Had given her everything. But Blessing's heart had grown cold. The anger had frozen it solid. What about her? Blessing said with a shrug. She chose to believe I was a bad girl instead of asking the right questions. She chose to protect you instead of protecting me. Now she can live with the consequences. It was a lie, of course. Auntie Sandra had not chosen to protect Uncle Daniel. She simply had no idea that her own husband could do such evil things. She was innocent in all of this. But people who are drowning in pain often pull innocent people with them. Blessing was drowning, and she was going to pull down the one person who had truly loved her. The change in Blessing was gradual at first. She stopped trying to hide her pregnancy. She started wearing clothes that showed her growing belly. She stopped avoiding Uncle Daniel when Auntie Sandra was around. Blessing, she said one day, why are you not ashamed? Why do you walk around like you are proud of what you have done? Maybe I am not ashamed, Blessing replied with cold eyes. Maybe I am tired of pretending to be sorry for something that felt good. How can you say such things? Auntie Sandra whispered. I raised you to be a good girl. I taught you about God and morality. You taught me many things, Blessing said. But you never taught me about men. You never warned me that they take what they want and leave girls to face the consequences alone. What do you mean by that? Auntie Sandra asked, her heart starting to race. But Blessing just smiled and walked away, leaving her aunt with more questions and growing fear. That evening, Auntie Sandra confronted her husband. Daniel, she said, I am worried about Blessing. She is acting strange. The things she says, they don't make sense. What kind of things? Uncle Daniel asked, but his voice sounded nervous. She talks about men taking what they want. She acts like she has some secret knowledge. And the way she looks at you. Auntie Sandra paused. Sometimes I catch her looking at you in a way that makes me uncomfortable. You are imagining things, he said. The girl is pregnant and emotional. Pregnant women often act strangely. But Auntie Sandra was not stupid. She was just innocent. And innocence, when it finally wakes up, can see things very clearly. Uncle Daniel looked into his wife's eyes. He could have told the truth then. He could have confessed his sin and begged for forgiveness. Maybe, with time and counseling and God's grace, their marriage could have been saved. Maybe Blessing could have been helped instead of becoming a monster. But Uncle Daniel was a coward. He chose the easier path. I have no idea, he lied smoothly. But I am beginning to think the father might be someone we know. Someone close to this family. It was a clever lie. It made Auntie Sandra think of male cousins, family friends, maybe even the house help. It never made her think of her own husband. Who do you suspect? She asked. That night, as she lay in bed next to her husband, Auntie Sandra prayed. God, she whispered, please help me understand what is happening to my family. Please help me save Blessing from whatever darkness has taken hold of her. But Blessing was beyond saving now. She had chosen her path, and it led straight into hell. The poison that Blessing and Uncle Daniel were spreading finally reached its target. Like acid eating through metal, it began to destroy Auntie Sandra's peace completely. Blessing was now 5 months pregnant. Her belly was round and obvious. But instead of hiding in shame, she flaunted it. She would sit in the living room with her hands on her stomach, smiling mysteriously. One evening, the family was having dinner together. It had become a tense and quiet affair, not like the happy meals they used to share. Auntie Sandra was trying to make conversation. Blessing, the doctor says the baby is healthy. Have you thought about what you will name it? I have some ideas, Blessing said, cutting her meat slowly. Maybe I will name it after my father. Auntie Sandra's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. You still refuse to tell me who the father is. When will it be the right time? Auntie Sandra's voice was strained. Soon, Blessing said. Very soon. Uncle Daniel looked up sharply. This was not part of their plan. They had agreed to be subtle, to slowly drive Auntie Sandra crazy with hints and suggestions. They had not agreed to reveal everything. Blessing, he said with a warning in his voice, maybe you should focus on your health instead of playing games. Games. Blessing laughed, and the sound was bitter. Uncle Daniel, do you think this is a game? The way she said Uncle Daniel made Auntie Sandra's blood run cold. There was something in Blessing's tone. Something familiar and intimate that should not be there between a niece and uncle. Blessing and Uncle Daniel stared at each other across the table. In that moment, they both realized that their secret was about to explode into the open. They could continue lying, or they could finally tell the truth. Blessing made the choice for both of them. You want to know who the father is? She asked, standing up from the table. Her pregnant belly made her movement awkward, but her voice was strong and clear. Blessing, don't. Uncle Daniel started to say.